Welcome to Pammie Plus Parks. I'm Pammie, your plus-size fairy godmother, bringing you all the magic Disney and Florida has to offer plus-size people. And if you're watching on Sunday, September 30th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, you're watching us live. Oh, look, I have company. If you're watching any other day or time, you are watching this pre-recorded, but it's still fresh. And if you'd like to join in on the conversation after this video is posted, you can go ahead and leave your thoughts and feelings and ideas down in the comment section below. It has been a very hectic month and a very hectic day, to say the least. I'm just going to see if I can block the camera a little better than I didn't have a lot of opportunity to kind of set up today. It's been a little crazy, but I'm really glad that you guys could join me this weekend. This is the very first UK Sunday, and I'm calling it UK Sunday not because only UK people can join in the chat, but because we have so many fans from the UK who reached out to me and asked if we could do a live chat maybe on a weekend or on a different time of day that's easier for them to join us. And I got a lot of other people who reached out to me from throughout North America who said the same thing, like maybe a weekend would work better. So going forward, we will continue to have the Pammie Plus Parks live chats happen on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for the first, second, and third week of the month. And in the final week of the month, for the last Sunday of each month, we will do a live chat at 2 p.m. Eastern Time so that more people can join us. And I hope that this turns out to be something that's a little more convenient for you and it's popular and hopefully something we can continue to do going forward. But right now, that is certainly the plan. I really thank you guys for joining me live. I see a lot of people have already started to join the conversation. I'm actually going to get my computer set up here so I can see the chat a little easier. Let's see if I can connect to that. Let's see. I don't know if I can connect to it on this computer. I'm going to do my very best in the course of time here because it's really hard for me to see your chats if I can't read them on the computer screen. Here we go. Sorry about this taking a little extra longer here. I should have set this up a little further in advance, but it has been a nutty day today. I don't know how you guys have been enjoying your weekend. I hope it's been going smoothly and you guys have been having a lot of fun and good weather where you are and doing lots of cool stuff with your friends and family. Let me go ahead and say hello to some of the people who joined the chat. Oh, I see there's Kat and Alicia and Rachel. Thank you for the compliment on my hair. I love doing it this way. It's really cute and fun and easy. Hello, Buddy and Shauna and Jenna and Candace. Well, thanks guys very much for joining and saying hello. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate everybody who's watching after the fact too, after we post this later on. Oh, I see this in the background. So I got this new, believe it or not, this is not brand new, it's vintage. It's not from the 1930s like you would think. It's actually from the early 2000s. And I got this in one of my antiquing trips. And I was trying to use him as a prop in the picture, but I don't think it worked out very well. But he is really cute and I like him, and you'll see more of him in the background in the future. Oh, I think I maybe need to cover up a little more. Alright, so for those of you who haven't joined a live chat before in the past, let me tell you a little bit about it so you can know what to expect. What we like to do is kind of break the show out into 3 sections. In the first section, I kind of talk about some of the videos that I've posted recently and get your feedback on them. And then in the second portion, I also then go on to talk about what to expect in the future because there's a lot of great videos coming up and I kind of like to give you a heads up about that. In the second section of the video, I'll actually share some tips and tricks with you that kind of help you navigate the parks a little easier. And on this particular video, we will be covering tips for tipping mousekeeping, which is something for a lot of folks who are from the UK or overseas may not really be familiar with the concept of tipping and what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And I'm happy to share that with you. There's a lot of interesting things to learn about tipping, housekeeping at hotels and motels and resorts in Florida, and I will share all of that with you. And in the final section of this chat, it'll be more of like an open forum where we can kind of talk about whatever we want to talk about. You can share your ideas for upcoming videos, that sort of thing, and we'll go into more about that as we go forward. But let's go ahead and see. I got a couple of comments here. Let's see what Alicia says. I'm so happy that you're going over the mousekeeping tips because I'm actually making little tip envelopes for mousekeeping to keep when we're down there. And I actually have tips for you about the envelopes that you use when you're tipping mousekeeping or housekeeping. So there's some information about that too. Stay tuned. There's more to cover there. Let me go ahead and take a quick drink of water from my poison apple. Refreshing. All right. So September has been a really hectic month. I've got to tell you that September 2018 is a lot better than September 2017 was, because we had that horrible hurricane last year. And I think we have a little PTSD left over from that, because I felt like through the whole month of September we've been bracing ourselves for something to happen. And today's the last day of September. So maybe we're breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief that no major hurricane storm has hit us this year so far. I don't want to jinx us, because hurricane season lasts throughout October, and something you might not realize that in Florida, September and October are our most active storm months. So it may not rain as much as it does in some other months. It probably is pretty right on par with other months in the summer, but we have much more violent storms than we do any other time of the year. So a couple of nights ago, not last night, but the 2 nights preceding, we had thunderstorms and lightning storms that were so bad they literally shook the windows and shook the walls of the house, which isn't a big deal for us. It doesn't scare us because it happens all the time, but I would imagine if you weren't a Florida resident and you'd never been familiar with it, it would really freak you out. But it was absolutely fine. Nothing was damaged or anything. It was just a lot of noise. So for September, we did a lot of really cool stuff. Mark went to Magic Kingdom on his own on like a Thursday, and he got there when the park opened. This was in the first week of September, and it was absolutely dead. And I don't know if you've watched on Pammie Plus Parks Facebook group, but I posted some pictures there where it showed, he sent them to me, where it showed like areas of the park that are usually have huge bottlenecks of people were completely empty because there was like no one in the park. He got to ride, I believe, somewhere between 6 to 8 rides from 9 a.m. until 11:30 a.m. And then he was like, oh, I went on all the rides I wanted to go on. So he left Magic Kingdom, and he actually had a really nice morning. He went on a ton of rides, and it was nice and easy and fun, and he got out of there before it got really hot. So he had a great time. That's something to keep in mind, maybe, that if you're going to Magic Kingdom, get there very early in the morning and do it on like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday rather than a weekend if you can manage it. During the first week of September, I also went to Hollywood Studios to visit Toy Story Land in the early morning VIP pass holder event, and I got a video for, I created a video for Toy Story Mania, and you'll see that in the coming few weeks. And I also did a video for Muppets 3D, the theater there, and got all kinds of information on alternate seating for that show that you're going to really appreciate and find helpful when you go see that show, especially if you have little ones. If you have kids, they will love that show. And then we did a video for the Sci-Fi Dine-In Theater, which I've already posted, and thank you guys so much for watching that and for sharing that on your own social media and forwarding that to people. It seems to have gotten a lot of attention, not just from plus size people, but from people, every kind of person. And people have been writing to me and saying that they love it. There's even been some people who are like, I'm not plus size, but I love your channel, so I'm gonna watch it, which is so sweet and wonderful. And I'm happy to reach all different people, because, you know, when you're planning a trip, the person who's planning the trip may have all kinds of people in their group of different sizes, different ages, different physical mobilities. It's nice to have a resource where there's someone making some videos that kind of address those things. So I'm happy to do that. But I want to point out something to you guys that I didn't really make clear in that Sci-Fi Dine-In Theater video, and it's that although Renata helped us with getting a table reservation, and she was amazing in bringing the chefs out so we could interview the chefs and get their take on how they created their dishes. Our meal was not paid for by Disney. We paid for our own meals. Disney does not give out free meals to anybody who has a camera and says they're a vlogger. That does not happen. I'm sure there's really big, well-known, popular vloggers that do get some things given to them for free. I am not one of those people, but if I ever were, I would let you know. So I wanted to really thank Melanie and her husband Sean for joining me on that lunch and paying for their meals. They paid for their own meals, I paid for my meal, and it was expensive. So for them, that was an investment in the channel and being able to reach out to you guys. You may know that Melanie is a moderator for Disney Parks for Plus Size Guests, which is a wonderful Facebook group that I encourage you to join, as well as Pammie Plus Parks on Facebook. You know, she's supporting this channel by paying for her meal because she knows that there's stuff that we're covering here that will really help plus size people and people with mobility issues. So thank you so much, Melanie, for doing that. Please leave your comments down below thanking Melanie and Sean for their just contribution to the channel by agreeing to join me for lunch and paying for their own meal. And that's why sometimes you ask me to do things like go to certain restaurants or bars or try certain snacks and things like that, or buy certain items of clothing. That all comes from my own pocket, and I can't really afford to do that all the time. I have to save up to be able to do it. So I just want to let you know that's why I don't always do that. However, people have been contributing to the channel through doing, what do you call it, the super chats here during the live streams, and that money helped pay for that meal for me. So that anytime you contribute stuff like that, it does go back into the channel and either paying for my annual passes, saving towards Universal Studio passes, and to purchase special things like that so I can cover videos for them for you. So that's how we reinvest back into the channel with those funds that you contribute. I'm always grateful for that, to be able to do that. Some other stuff that we have coming up for videos, Mark and I went to, hang on, let me get you the name of the place. We went to Murakami Japanese Gardens this month, and we had an amazing time there. It's about 2.5 hours from Disney, so if you're looking to get outside of the Disney bubble and maybe visit some beaches, this garden is located in the town of Delray Beach, and there's a lot of beautiful beach towns out that way. So if you happen to be staying on the east coast of Florida and you want to take a little trek out to this place, it's a great side trip, especially if you want to add a little culture and a little art into your trip and do something outside of that Disney bubble. This is a great thing to do. They had a wonderful restaurant there and a little museum shop. They had cultural exhibits. There's tons of stuff for me to share with you about the Murakami Japanese Gardens. And I will tell you this too, if you watch it, this was fascinating to me, but I actually had a very emotional, sort of cathartic experience while I was there. And I wonder if part of that has to do with the way the gardens are set up and the experience of walking through them and how they draw emotion from you. It was really fascinating. Thank you, Karen. Thanks so much for that amazing contribution. I really appreciate that super chat. Thank you very, very much. That'll be very helpful. In fact, those funds will help Mark and I when we go to do our next major video, which will be October 16th. Inside of Magic Kingdom, Mark and I will be going to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. It is the first time we have ever gone to any Disney ticketed after hours event ever, ever, ever. And every morning I wake up with a little flutter of excitement because I know I'm one day closer to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. I gotta tell you how excited I am about it and how I cannot wait to share that with you. And I'm so excited that one of our very loyal viewers of Pammie Plus Parks YouTube channel, who's also a member of our Pammie Plus Parks Facebook group, very generously gave Mark and I those tickets to be able to go, because again, we're really tight with our funds. I am trying to save for Universal tickets, so I don't spend a lot of money on extra things like that, because I want to be able to also, you know, cover Universal for you guys too in the future. But they got us those tickets, and I'm super excited to vlog that event for you guys. And I know there's a lot of other vloggers out there who've shown all the little details of the parades and the shows and things like that, but I will definitely be covering this for you from the perspective of a plus size person and what we can expect with walking and wait times and lines and how we handle it as plus size people. And Mark is coming with me. Mark has epilepsy, has photosensitivity issues, so he's going to be contributing a lot to the video as well from his perspective of how he's handling the different light situations with photosensitivity and light. Erica, thank you so much. Yes, I will have fun at Mickey's Not So Scary. We will, that money will help us buy a treat. We hope to be able to buy some treats while we're there to share with you all the lovely, delicious, yummy treats that they have for the party. So I know a lot of people have asked us to buy different things and try stuff and taste it for them. So we can definitely do that for sure with that contribution. Thank you for the super chat. So yeah, we're really excited to bring you that video from the perspective of a plus size person and from the perspective of somebody who has epilepsy. I think that will be really helpful to a lot of people who have photosensitivity issues. I can't wait. So the last thing I want to talk about as far as the videos and the channel goes has to do with the Dia & Company video, which you guys responded beautifully to. Thank you so much to everyone who ordered a box from Dia & Company, every person who did a small, what's the word, not a contribution, but a small, like a small percentage came to the Pammie Plus Parks channel. And that, you know, that adds towards the money that's saving towards those Universal Studio annual passes and to finish getting what I need to buy my Disney annual passes. So I really appreciate that. That was amazing. So many of you have been posting on the Pammie Plus Parks Facebook group about the beautiful outfits that you got. Dia & Company actually was really pleased with the response they got from the video that I did for you guys. So they are working with me and talking about sending me a box of their activewear, because not only do they have a fashion line that they send out in their boxes, they also have boxes that are specifically for activewear. And I know a lot of you wear activewear into the parks, like leggings and sweatpants and tanks and jackets and things like that. I don't have a lot of stuff like that. I only have one pair of leggings and that's it. So I really kind of need to build that in my wardrobe. Oh, they also have sports bras. They have everything that a gal can need for active wear, for whatever active activities you're doing. And so I'm talking with them about that. Thank you so much, Lisa. That's amazing. Thank you very much for your contribution. I really appreciate that. You are awesome. I'm looking forward to checking that out, and I hope they do send me the box. They're talking about sending it to me for free because I am so budget minded. But I would love to be able to show those clothes to you. So the next Dia box that I do for you, the next unboxing, may very well be an activewear box. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I will let you know when it's coming. And I think that will be something that will be really helpful to a lot of people, especially if you're looking for activewear to wear to the parks. But let me go ahead and let's catch up on some of the comments that folks have been leaving. Let's see. Okay, we back up a little here. Hello, Becky and Lisa, of course. Amazing. Hello, Jahid. People thanking Melanie and Sean. They are awesome. Thank you. Hello, Christina. Lots of wonderful people out there tuning in. Thanks, guys, for showing up. I appreciate it. And hello to the Magic Geekdom. The Magic Geekdom is another vlogger. Kara and Jeremy have recently moved to Orlando, and they actually did a cross-country trip from their home state that they lived in, Oregon, all the way across the Pacific Northwest, all the way down here to Florida. Go back, view their videos. There are videos of all the different cool places they visited as they traveled down here to Florida, and they're doing a ton of coverage of the parks, of the Disney parks, and they're just such a sweet, cool, awesome couple. I love them, and I hope you'll go check out the Magic Geekdom. Let's see. Lisa says, my husband wants a beach life and I want a Disney life. We're planning on moving there in a few years. Can you give some advice on where we could start looking? You know, you can move where I live. I live in Pinellas County, specifically in the St. Petersburg area. There's tons of beaches out here on the West Coast. We have the best beaches. I'm not joking. We have the best beaches in all of the United States of America. We are consistently listed as having the top beaches, not just in the country, but in the world. So if you want gorgeous sugary sandy beaches, come on over to this area of Florida. We have tons of beaches here, and I'm about 2 hours away from the parks. And I'm able to go twice a month with no big deal. In fact, you get so used to the drive that it's like you put on your tunes, you rock out in your cars, you're driving there, you just relax. It's an easy drive. I highly recommend living on this coast. Let's see. Amazing says, I want to ask some information about a topic. Well, if you want to go ahead and do that, you can do that in the comments here. You can visit Pammie Plus Parks on Facebook and apply to be a member of that group and ask your question in there as well, and you'll get lots of answers from a lot of wonderful people that are members of that group too. Sue says, love your content. My daughter works at Rock and Roller Coaster, Fantasmic, and Tower of Terror. Awesome. We love cast members. We love your daughter. Thank your daughter for all the wonderful magic that she makes for everybody every day. I greatly appreciate all of the people who work to help make amazing memories for people every day at Disney. It is a really special kind of person that is a cast member at Disney, especially working those attractions. It is very hard work in all kinds of weather, and I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Erica says she wants to see the activewear box. That is fantastic. Wonderful. Let's see. Oh, Catherine, hello from Ireland. Hello, I'm so glad you could join us. Thank you, Tony, for your compliment about my hair. Let's see. Let me see. Sorry, guys. Going through here. Kelly says she tried the Dia and Company and kept one blouse but can't wait for the next box. Yeah, I know. You know what's really great about it is even if you didn't quite like everything that's in your Dia and Company box, it just gives you so many ideas about what you could wear and what you could try. I love the idea that someone's picking things out for me that are kind of the sort of things I would like to wear, but maybe outside of my box to kind of get me out of my rut of what I am wearing. And I think that's really, really helpful to have somebody kind of like perk up your style is the best thing ever. Rachel is coming from the UK on November 28th. Is it normally warm enough to swim? A lot of times it is, yes. And I believe most if not all of the pools, Rachel, are heated. You should be able to swim in November. I mean, we usually, traditionally here in Florida, after Thanksgiving dinner, we usually just go to the beach, and if it's too cold to get in the water, we just walk around. Same thing at Christmas. Sometimes it's too cold to actually get into the water, but we do like going to the beach. So, but the pools, you should be able to swim in those. Those are heated. Let's see. I'm gonna just take someone out of here. If there's anyone who's like being pestering or anything like that in the group, I'll go ahead and remove them. It might take me a couple of minutes. Or if they say something that you don't want to answer or reply, you do not need to do that. And I will take care of it. So we just squared someone away. Someone was being a little bit of a pest on here and I got rid of them. Sorry about that, guys. Lisa says she'll be visiting soon, and we're starting with a visit to St. Augustine. Would you guys like to see me do a vlog about St. Augustine? Mark and I go to St. Augustine almost once a month because we love it there, and we just have fun. If you'd like to see some vlogs from St. Augustine, I would be happy to do that. There's a lot of stuff that you can do there for free, and I can do a vlog of all the free stuff that you can do there. I can do a vlog about just like some of the touristy attraction stuff and the museums, the different forts. There's places we like to go in the St. Augustine area to hike, and places that we like to eat when we're up there. If you guys are interested in that, I would love to do that for you because St. Augustine's only a couple hours away from Disney, and if you're there for a few weeks, especially, I know a lot of you folks that travel from Europe and the UK will stay in Florida for a few weeks and you look for other stuff to do. So I'd be happy to do vlogs for you for that. We'd go all the time. I just didn't think you guys would be interested in seeing that. So Kat, you said you would like to see it. That would be great. And Magic Geekdom is like, you should definitely show us St. Augustine. Well, you should definitely come with me you guys will do like a double date and head up to St. Augustine and we'll show you all our favorite places. I think that would be fun. People would love to see us do that, I'm sure. Wow, you guys really would love to see? You would really love to see St. Augustine. Alicia says, I love how you're very responsive and coordinating towards the group. Well, yeah, I mean, the whole idea is to give you guys what you want and what you like. And I want you guys to, you know, have some input. I'm not doing this for, you know, I mean, it's fun for me, but I want to do stuff that you guys want to see. What's there to do in St. Augustine? We are trying to do a couple of local places when we go to Florida for a honeymoon next year, only so we have something to do besides Disney. Honey, Alicia, there is so much to do in St. Augustine. It is not even funny. There's a lot to do there. It just depends on what your focus is. Is it on fine wine and beverages and drinking? Is it in fine dining? Is it on historical stuff? Do you like tacky tourist stuff? Do you want to do free stuff? Do you want to go to the beaches? Do you like animals? There's tons of stuff to do up there. Just a ton of things. Maybe that's something I can, sounds like I really do need to do some videos for you guys on St. Augustine, for sure. Yeah, I will definitely look into that. I had so many people have great responses and about that. So yeah, you guys will get some St. Augustine videos coming up for sure. All right, so let me go ahead and jump into the primary topic for this video, which has to do with mousekeeping and tipping. So this can be a tricky subject, I know, for our friends from the UK and from Europe. Tipping is not necessarily something that everyone around the world does all the time, and there is, and I completely understand this, there is a school of thought here in the US where people are getting away from tipping at all, anywhere, ever, because they feel that if they don't tip anywhere, and if we all start not tipping, then maybe different businesses and establishments will start paying their employees enough money to live off of rather than rely on tips. And I understand that school of thought, I do, but I also respect the idea of wanting to leave a gratuity to somebody for a little extra special work they may have done for you. And I also understand people wanting to respect the customs of wherever they're visiting. So let me go ahead and share what's customary here in the US. First of all, tipping is not necessarily, it is not required. Tipping for housekeeping in a hotel or motel or resort is not required in the US at all, unless you are staying in some resort where they tell you it's included for them. Customarily, tipping is not required. In fact, I did a bit of research on some travel websites and learned that less than a third of the people who stay in hotels in the United States actually leave a tip. So you don't have to leave a tip if you don't want to. No one is forcing you to do that. However, most people who stay multiple days in the same hotel room will leave a tip ranging anywhere from $1 to $5 per day, with an average tip of about $3. And a good rule of thumb for leaving a tip is to leave $1 per bed or $1 per person. So if you and your partner are staying in a room that has 2 queen-size beds, leave $1 per bed. If you and your family are staying in a hotel room with 2 beds in it, but there's 4 of you, 2 of you in each bed, maybe you leave $3 or $4 for your tip. If you're staying in one of those suites or a room where there's an extra bed and you've got 5 people in the room or 6 people in the room, consider leaving $5 a day. It's really up to you. You can leave $6, $7, depending on how many people you have. Now here's my tip as far as leaving the money. Here in the US, believe it or not, every place I've ever stayed, if I have left money out on a dresser or left money out on the coffee table or the desk or anywhere in the hotel room, all they do with the money is square it up, stack it up neatly, and line the coins up in the dollar bills, and they leave it. They won't touch the money. They won't take it. I think they take it if you leave and you've vacated the room completely, but if you're continuing to stay, they won't take the money. You have to clearly mark the money as being a tip. I noticed on Pinterest and in different Disney Facebook groups, people make the cutest little envelopes with little mouse ears and different shapes, and they're very, very cute. They don't even look like envelopes, they're so cute, and they put the money in it. And my concern is that's going to stay there because they don't know that there's money in it, and they don't know it's a tip, and they don't know it's meant for them. So whatever type of envelope you're making, however cute you're making it, whatever you're doing with it, my suggestion is that you make sure you put mousekeeping on the envelope. If you're staying on Disney property, they refer to housekeeping as mousekeeping. If you're not staying on Disney property, go ahead and put housekeeping on it, and even put the word tip, and maybe say thank you, something along those lines, so they know that that is meant for them and that they can take it. Otherwise, they leave the money there for you. They won't take it. And if the envelope, I worry that like if the envelope's too cute and it doesn't look like an envelope, they're not going to open it up. They're just going to throw it away, not knowing there's money in there. So make sure you mark it clearly as being for housekeeping or mousekeeping, and make it clear that it is a tip so that it doesn't accidentally get thrown away. Another tip for tipping: if you want to have consistently good service throughout your entire trip, I would say leave a small tip every single day, and your service will continue to be good. There's no guarantee the person who's cleaning your room today will be the person who's cleaning it tomorrow, but there is some likelihood that you have the same people working the same sections day after day. As far as tipping goes for me, Mark and I do a lot of road trips where we stay a single day on the road, and we're just in a room for one day. We generally don't tip if that's the case. We don't ask for any special towels or blankets, or we don't use the swimming pool. We're not using the laundry facility. We're not using any special amenities. We're not making use of anything. We are literally going in, sleeping on the bed, using 2 towels and 2 washcloths and a hand towel, and leaving. You know, it's very easy for someone to come in and clean up after us. So we don't tip when we're on the road at a hotel or motel on the road. When we stay in a place for multiple days, we're generally on the road traveling with our dog, and it's easier for us to not have somebody come in and do housekeeping. We have a crate for her that we pack up the crate and put her in the crate. So housekeeping doesn't need to worry about it, but sometimes they get nervous because she starts barking, so we're like, don't even bother. So we just ask them not to give us any housekeeping service at all, and we go get our own towels when we need them from the front desk, and we ask for toilet paper, and we just keep the room tidy. We ask for extra trash bags. We take out our own trash. So for us, when we're doing a road trip with our dog, we're not going to leave a tip for services we're not getting. So you know, that's the way it goes. I feel like if you're not getting a service, there's no need to tip for it. But on the other hand, if we were, say, traveling with children and people were eating in the room and things were getting dirty and sticky and fingerprinted and stuff needed to be wiped down, and they definitely had to do vacuuming and it had to be done every day, and the room's a bit of a mess, and they were coming in and really attacking it and cleaning it, we were asking for extra towels or pool towels or pillows and extra this and extra that, oh, I would absolutely tip every single day generously, because you're asking for a lot of extra services that are above and beyond. So yeah, I would definitely tip then. But you know, anytime we're doing something like that, or we're just using the room in a normal sort of way and we're in and out one day or whatever, we don't really tip, but we will in other situations where we're staying for a longer period of time and we're using the facilities and we're using the pool and we're using stuff, we'll tip. So that's basically it for tips, for tipping. If you guys have any specific questions here, I'm going to go and check and see if anyone had any specific questions about it. Let's take a look at what you guys have said. Let's see. Michelle says she's a tacky tourist. You want the tacky tourist stuff from St. Augustine? I can do that for you. For sure. Thank you, David. Thank you for the compliment about my hair. Lawrence says they usually tip between $5 and $7 per day and use custom mousekeeping envelopes. Okay, that's cool. It really depends. I mean, everybody, you're welcome to tip whatever you want. Do you know how many, Alicia asked, do you know how many mousekeeping clean your room? I'm thinking about leaving $5 a tip per day since we're staying at the Grand Floridian for a honeymoon. I think $5 a day is more than generous for 2 people in one room. It's more than generous. Anywhere from $1 to $5 is good. But yeah, I would say like $3 to $5 is $3 is great. $5 is super nice. It's very nice. So yeah, I think that would be very generous for you. And just because you're staying at the Grand Floridian doesn't mean you're getting like a higher level of housekeeping service. They're all really good. So if you're staying somewhere on property, you can leave $5 anywhere you want if you want to. I know they definitely appreciate it. Ginger says, our cute mousekeeping envelopes were only picked up a few times, probably for these reasons. Yes, Ginger. If you're not clearly labeling those envelopes as being a tip for housekeeping or mousekeeping, like literally here's what I would do. I would leave an envelope that says tip for mousekeeping or tip for you, thank you, and like a dollar sign or something really, really easy so that people can understand and know that it's for them. You know, make it simple for, I mean, the envelopes are super cute, and I'm sure the work that you put into them, you put a lot of love into them, but you want to make sure they get the money. Alicia says, that's what I'm doing. I'm making a Mickey and Minnie Mouse ear envelope. Alicia, if you do that, make sure you label them appropriately, though. Karen says, the envelopes are incredibly cute, but I just can't justify spending several dollars per envelope. Whoops. I think I use Post-it note with a scrawled note on it. Not cute, but it does the job. Karen, I'm totally with you. I am 100% with you. I'm one of those horrible people who does not like getting greeting cards because I'm like, why would I spend $6 to tell you that I love you when I can just be like, I love you. I would rather buy you something for $6 or take you out for a drink for $6. You know, if you're for a family member or a friend, I would rather go do something for you than spend $6 on a piece of paper that I can express to you my love. So yeah, like when it comes to fancy envelopes, I think they're gorgeous, they're cute. You definitely put a lot of love and effort and thought and creativity into the envelopes. But Karen, I am with you. A Post-it that says, tip for you. That's what I'm all about. That's what I do. I just leave a little note on it. Erica says, I was raised to tip every time, but almost no one else I know does. You know, that's what you got to do. You do what works for you. Do what you feel is right. I back you 100% on that. You got to do what works for you and your family and what makes you feel good inside. Serena says, I just got back last week and we stayed at All Star Music. They asked if we wanted housekeeping and if we, okay. I guess what she's saying here, Serena was saying they offered her like either a voucher or a gift card or something if you don't get mousekeeping. Some Disney resorts, not all of them, will ask you as you check in, do you want mousekeeping every single day? And you can even, when you're checking in, tell them that you don't want mousekeeping. And in some cases, depending on the resort and what's going on at the time, they may actually give you either a voucher or a gift card for anywhere from like $20 or $25 per day. Some places, not all the time, this is not a guarantee, will give you a voucher to use or a gift card to use in the parks for every day that you're not getting mousekeeping. So keep that in mind. And I'm a big fan of not having somebody clean my room every day. We just go in there and sleep. When we started traveling with the dogs and I started going through and not having to have housekeeping every day, I was like, wow, this is actually nice. No pounding on the door, waking me up. You know, things are exactly where I left them. I like it. But it's not for everybody. You know, we don't eat in the room and stuff like that too, so maybe that's why. Serena says okay, let's see. Oh, Serena got a $60 credit, and that was at All-Star Music Resort. They gave her a $60 credit for not using mousekeeping. That's awesome. Let's see. Let's see. Jenna says she uses the notepad in the room and writes "thank you housekeeping" and then leave it on top of the money in the dresser, on the dresser. That's perfect. That's perfect, Jenna. That's the smart thing to do. Lawrence says Disney is now offering gift cards up to $70 instead of full mousekeeping services. So it really saves them money and effort when you don't have your room cleaned. Kelly says some Disney resorts are now giving guests an option to decline mousekeeping. They get a Disney gift card. You can still call mousekeeping if you need something, and they're glad to deliver it. And the Magic Geekdom says, I've never used envelopes. I've never even thought to use them. I always just leave cash on the bathroom counter, and that seems to work. And that can work, for sure, the Magic Geekdom. If you're leaving that money on your last day, and you're leaving the money on the counter, and you're completely vacated from the room, they'll definitely know that money's for them. But on a day-to-day basis, I don't know, has that worked for you? If you've left money there every single day on the counter, I always have to leave a note, because every time I leave money, no matter where I leave it in the room, no matter where I've traveled in the United States, throughout all the years, and I traveled a lot for work for several years, nobody ever takes the tip unless I put a little note on it saying, this is for you. It just sits there. They never take it. I don't know why. Elizabeth says, I know this is off topic, but do you have plans to go back and try Flight of Passage again soon? I think you said that you thought you could do something different to be able to ride. Actually, this is the part of we've gone through all the mousekeeping, tipping stuff that I wanted to do. So yes, this section is where we can kind of go off topic about anything we want. So yes, Flight of Passage, I want very much to do that ride. I attempted to ride it in October of last year, and I've been checking periodically to see if I can get a fast pass for the ride, because I don't know if you realize this, but I have a 2-hour drive to get to the park and a 2-hour drive back, and I don't want to wait 2 hours in line for that ride. I kind of want to, when I go to the park, I want to be able to make more than just one video. I want to make a bunch of them, so if I can get a fast pass for that ride, it will allow me to cover some other things along the way. And yeah, there are some things I'm going to try differently. Hoping to get that Dia & Company activewear box and try to wear a pair of cute leggings, because when I went last time, the restraints that go underneath your thighs and then touch against your calves kept, like, they're covered in like a silicone type of material, and it kept grabbing onto the bottom of my shorts. I was wearing loose cargo shorts and cottony thin material, and it just, which I'm wearing them right now actually, and the restraints just kept dragging on them and it couldn't get past them. So I'm thinking maybe if I try leggings, it'll slide underneath. I don't know. I hope so. So I'm going to try that. And then somebody else mentioned getting a plastic bag from one of the shops, sitting on the plastic bag and sliding forward, because the seat is also covered with sort of a silicone type of surface. So when you sit on it, you don't slide around, which is smart because it makes the seat more safe because you're kind of stuck to it. But it also means that you can't slide all the way forward. So someone told me they put a plastic bag on the seat and sat on the bag and slid all the way forward. And I was like, man, that is genius. So I'm going to try the plastic bag trick, and I'm going to try wearing different pants. So we'll see if that will work. As soon as I get a fast pass, I will do it. See. Oh, Michelle likes to leave chocolate as part of the tip too for mousekeeping. I think that's awesome. I know a lot of people will take, they'll leave snacks and food and little gifts and things like that too. I mean, I'm sure folks would prefer to have cash, but if somebody left me a Diet Coke, I'd be pretty stoked as well. So some people leave whatever they have left over for snacks and things like that for housekeeping too. So, I mean, that's nice to do too, but it's also nice to receive money. Let's see. Karen says, regarding tipping, we have a town car service booked from the airport. The quote included a 20% gratuity built in. This will be billed to my credit card. Do I need to also tip the driver in cash? No. When tips are included, you do not have to also tip a person in cash. Have a few dollars in cash on you, and if that driver does something exceptional that's above and beyond what you were expecting, then sure, you can give them a little cash tip if you want to on top of it, but that's up to your own discretion. Tipping in the US can be very confusing, and if you guys have any other questions about that, please let me know. There is a movement that has started probably, I don't know, last year or so here in the US among Americans who are starting to purposely not leave tips when they dine out, when they're in bars and restaurants and different places where we tip. specifically because they feel like if enough Americans stop tipping, then these companies will start paying people a living wage. What you may not be aware of is, I need to get the specifics. I don't know the specific amount, but many restaurants, all restaurants and bars can pay their employees what is minimum wage for restaurant hospitality industry wages, which is a different minimum wage than what everybody else gets. Minimum wage now is a little over $7 an hour in the U.S. If you're a restaurant worker, when I say restaurant worker, I mean a server, not necessarily a busboy or a cook or a chef or whatever. But if you're a server, they can pay you as little less than $3 an hour, and the rest of your salary is made up from tips. So if you are not tipping your servers, they are going to go hungry for sure. I get that you're trying to make a point, but they have kids and they have families and they have to eat food, and if you are not giving them a tip, they are not making a living that they can live off of. So take that into consideration. If making your point is more important than making sure that people have a decent wage to live off of, that's completely up to you. I will not, I get it. You have to draw the line in the sand somewhere about what you're going to do as far as tipping goes, but that's the custom in the U.S. Hopefully that will change someday, and then if it does, then tipping will go away, and you can tip somebody only if you absolutely feel like it's necessary to do so. But one of the other things to take into consideration, Mark and I have both worked in the restaurant world before. I worked serving tables, and I also worked as a hostess. So a host or hostess, and Mark worked as a maitre d'. They actually get paid a real wage. A host, hostess, or maitre d' gets a real wage, but they also can get a portion of the tips sometimes from the servers. One of the things I would do as a hostess is I would say, hey, you want to get more tables in your section on a slow night? Give me a couple dollars, So they would have to give me a little bit of their tip in order for them to get a better table. And in some restaurants, because the bartender only can be tipped by the people that are in the bar, but they have to make the bar drinks, the cocktails for all the dining room, they often are required, the servers are often required to give 3 to 5% of their tips that night to the bar. So even though you're giving them a good tip, a portion of that tip, regardless of whether or not you had cocktails, is actually going to go to the bar as well. So keep that in mind. They aren't always getting 100% of their tips. Sometimes they're greasing the palm of their host or hostess or their maitre d'. Sometimes they are paying out to the bar as well. So the whole tip is not necessarily going to them. Let's see. Oh, Teresa says, someone on here may have more info than me because we usually stay off property, but didn't Disney start coming in rooms every day for security purposes after the Vegas incident? Actually, they don't necessarily come into your room every single day, but they have let you know that they are authorized to look into your room every day. So generally, they're just like opening the door, kind of looking in and shutting it. This has been a law that's been in place in the United States of America for ages. For years and years and years and years and years and years and years. In the state of Florida, it's also a part of our law system for decades. That you were allowed to look in and inspect the room anytime you want. And really, it wasn't for guns or anything like that or weaponry. It was just so that if somebody was a long-term resident in a hotel, that the hotel staff could just check and make sure the room was okay, make sure there's nothing damaged in there, and make sure there's no leaks or anything like that. So that law has always been in place. It's not like it's something new. It's just that Disney started to enforce it. Thank you, B. Weber. Love all the info you pass along. Thank you, B. Weber. I really appreciate that contribution. That is super kind of you. I greatly appreciate it. Let's see what we've got here. Let me check and see. We had a few more things come in. Oh my goodness. Oh, Deborah's watching with the sound off. Erica said, do note that even if you don't have mousekeeping, they do need to check your room every few days by law. They won't clean, but they will just look in. Yes, they will look in your room every day. So that's good to know, Erica, that you found that to be true at Disney. The Magic Kingdom replied to my thing about saying like, hey, the money on the bathroom counter, do they really always take it? And they said yes. When they leave their tips for housekeeping on the bathroom counter, they almost always take it. I have not found that to be the case, and I don't know why. For me, I always like to leave a little note on it. Oh, and the Magic Kingdom left a little while ago. They were awesome. I'm glad they were able to stay with us for as long as they did. Let's see. Oh, Erica said, planning a wedding and can confirm tipping, gratuity, and service charges are super confusing. If you're traveling from Europe, the UK, anything like that, and you're not familiar with tipping practices here, do not be afraid to ask. If you're making a reservation at a restaurant, if you're making a reservation for any sort of like, maybe you're having a special event and you're renting a room, that sort of thing, make sure that you go ahead and ask about that, and they'll be more than happy to tell you what the custom is for that. Let's see. Jenna says, I tipped the room service attendant at Port Orleans only to read the receipt later and found a 17% tip already had been added. I would look the bill over first before tipping on room service. Okay, that's interesting. I wonder why they added a tip on Port Orleans for your room service. That's interesting. I did not know they did that. Perhaps they do that depending on the number of the people in your party. I'm not sure. I was not aware that they ever did that, a 17% tip for your service. Yeah, you may want to wait to tip to the end of your visit then, if that's the case. Or, you know, when you're checking in, ask if there's a service charge attached. I know a lot of times in restaurants throughout the Disney property and in Florida, if you have a party of 6 or more, they usually will automatically attach an 18 to 20% tip to your bill. That's just because when they're serving a party of 6 or more, they usually have 2 people waiting on your table to make sure your service is good, and they're taking that one other person from another table, and it kind of takes away from the service of other people. It just requires a lot more of the restaurant, a lot more coordination, a lot more effort and work goes into it, and they want to make sure that their people are tipped appropriately, so they will attach that tipping. Lawrence says, we stopped tipping at, oh, I keep going past what I wanted to say. All right. Well, Erica has left. I hope she has a great day. What do we have here? Lawrence says, if we stop tipping at restaurants, they will tack on an automatic 18% to your bill. Disney started this years ago because of lack of tippers. But the 18% gratuity is generally only added on to bills where they're a larger party, and in certain higher end restaurants they'll add that gratuity on. But usually it has to be a party of 6 or more before they start adding that on. Just so you know. And you can always ask when you first enter the restaurant what the tipping is. If you ask your host or hostess, they will be able to tell you before you get seated. So they'll let you know what to expect for that. And Karen says, I get room service a lot when I travel and have had tips added into my room service bill in the UK, US, and Australia. That is very common too. And that's how tipping can be very confusing about what to expect and when to tip and when not to tip. So if you're placing a room service order and you're in a hotel, as you're placing your order, ask, do I need to pay a tip with this, or is the tip included? Or you can just say, is the tip included? When you're calling to make a reservation for a restaurant, ask, is the tip included? Anytime that you're doing something like that, you can. What is protocol for tipping if service is slow or poor? As a former table server, I can tell you that if you don't leave a tip at all, a person might think that you just forgot to tip. I've never been stiffed on tip, thankfully. I think I just gave good service, so I always got some kind of a tip. But if you leave no tip at all, it could be perceived that maybe you forgot to leave a tip. But if you leave a small tip of $1, you're telling that person, you did a bad job. This is how bad it was. It was $1 worth. Some people leave a note on a receipt saying, I'm not tipping because the service was so poor. You know, take into consideration too why a service is poor. If your server comes to your table and tells you, I'm really sorry, but our dishwasher broke, or a piece of equipment broke, or a freezer broke, or a grill is broken, or something is broken, and they tell you, it's going to take a while for your food to come out, let me bring you another drink, and they try to make it up to you, and they check in on you from time to time. But a piece of equipment breaking is not that server's fault. They can even come to you and say, I'm really sorry, the restaurant is really busy tonight, our kitchen has crashed. When they say the kitchen has crashed, it means that they're backed up with orders. If they tell you that, they're communicating with you and they're giving you information and they're allowing you to know what's going on and when you can expect your food, I would not tip that server. That's not their fault that happened. That 10 million people came to the restaurant all at once, that's not their fault. I would still leave that person a tip as long as they came and checked and made sure my drinks were filled and let me know what was going on and let me know what to expect, and they were, you know, keeping in touch with me and communicating with me. I would make sure that person still had a tip. But if the service was really, that's when service is slow. If you feel like your service is slow, you can say to your server, hey, we've been waiting a while. Is everything okay? And if that person is nasty or mean back to you, then that's not a good server. But if they are communicating with you that it's slow and they know why it's slow and they're telling you it is going to be slow, I would not give a person a bad tip for that. That's not their fault. That's something going on in the kitchen that is not their problem or fault. It's their problem, but it's not their fault. I would not punish them for that with a tip. But if the service is poor, just make sure you leave a very low tip, a very small tip, so that they know that you didn't forget to tip, you just decided not to tip because you weren't happy. Alicia says, if the service is slow or poor, I like to do a 10% tipping. That way they still get their tip and at least they did get something. If you do a tour, Keys to the Kingdom or the Wild Africa Trek, do normally people tip the guide? Not that I know of. I don't think they do, but you can ask when you're making your reservation if tips are allowed so that you can give a tip if you want to. You're actually allowed to tip your bus drivers if you want to as well, your transportation people. When do you tip and how much is okay to tip Mousekeeping? Well, as I mentioned, you can tip on a day-to-day basis. $1 to $5 is standard. $3 is your good average. It's usually $1 per bed or $1 per person is normal. And extra if you feel like they went above and beyond. Make sure that you leave an envelope or a note clearly marking that it is a tip for Mousekeeping when you leave that tip. Some people tip at the end because some folks have said that they've stayed at resorts and then they got a gratuity was charged to them at the end on their bill. And so they had also given a tip every day. So when you're checking in, check with your resort and see if they charge you a gratuity for your room or if you can tip on a day-to-day basis. Stephanie says, hi from Nashville, Tennessee. Thanks for all you do. Do you know about tipping non-restaurant cast members inside the park? When you say non-restaurant cast members, do you mean people who work the buffet? Do you mean people who are characters? Any characters or the people who are with the characters? You don't need to tip any buffet folks. If you're eating at a buffet, like say for instance Crystal Palace, and they come to your table and they bring you your drinks and they check on you, you tip that person. But if you're at a quick service, you don't need to tip anybody. Like for instance, the quick service at Be Our Guest for breakfast and lunch, they bring your food to your table, but you still have to get your own drinks, silverware, napkins, and stuff like that. You do not need to tip that person. They bus your table and stuff. You don't have to tip that person. But I'm sure if you left $1 or $2 on the table, they would be happy to take it if you wanted to, but it's not necessary. Are there other places at Disney where you can tip? I think when people are handling your luggage, for valet parking, in any of the bars inside the parks or the resorts, I usually do $1 per drink. And it depends on if you're asking for something extra. If you're getting food as well, I will tip a little bit more because they're also bringing me food. But if I'm just getting a drink and I'm asking for something simple like a rum and coke, I do $1 per drink. And even if I know this sounds crazy, but if I go into a bar and all I want to do is drink water, because I don't drink a lot to begin with, I'm not much of an alcohol drinker. I do love the occasional cocktail, but you know, I'm often driving. So if I go with friends to the bar, you know, maybe we go to the bar at the Polynesian or something, I'll get a water and I will still tip $1 anyhow because they're still going to get me that water. And you know what? I'll tell you what, if you tip for a glass of water, they just keep bringing you water and they're super nice to you. I feel like it's worth it to tip the $1 for the glass of water. Really, you can tip any place that you want to where you feel like it's appropriate. If they're not allowed to accept tips, they're going to tell you we're not allowed to accept a tip. But anytime anybody does anything for you, you can offer them a tip. I don't usually tip cast members inside the park who do nice stuff for me. Instead, what I'll do is I will get a picture of their badge or of me and them, and I'll go ahead and I'll tweet to customer relations that this person helped me, or I'll stop off at guest relations and I'll like send them an email or something with a picture of me and the person and the time of day and the date that they helped me. And then that person will actually get something that goes into their professional profile or their professional file at Disney, where they'll get all kinds of kudos and they'll get extra congratulations and stuff like that. It'll show up on their annual review. I feel like giving somebody kind of acknowledgement of what they've done to their superiors, to the company, to Disney itself, is actually probably much more monetarily valuable to them than $1 or $2 or whatever. So that's kind of the stuff that I like to do instead of a tip of money inside the parks. Well, I think that's about it. Nobody else has any other questions about tipping or any questions or ideas or thoughts about different videos that you'd like to see coming up in the future. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this live chat. It has been a really good one and a really interesting one. And I hope that you guys will enjoy the videos that we have coming up for the Japanese Garden, for Muppets 3D. Oh, and one more that's coming up that I think you guys will be really excited about, that Mark and I, not this weekend, but the weekend before, we went to go see the Food and Wine Festival at Epcot, and we did a video for Test Track. That's one you guys have been waiting for a long time. So Test Track will be coming up soon as well. That will be a really, really useful one to anybody who is plus size or has any mobility issues or any photosensitivity issues. We're covering all of those topics in the Test Track video, so that one's going to be a really exciting one coming up soon too. I hope that you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Get back to your family and friends and have a great time, a wonderful relaxing day, and a wonderful week ahead. And let's kick off October and keep our fingers crossed that we'll have some nice cool weather coming up and that we'll have a wonderful, wonderful time at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. I can't wait to share that video with you guys after I get to go to that event. I'm super, super excited about it. We have a couple people saying goodbye. Let's take a look. Nope, that's it. Well, guys, you have a great week. And you know what I like to say at the end of the videos? Life roller coaster. Enjoy the ride.